Pythagoras. Runheraithia matrai, roita isha yanoa. Runheraithia matrai, ruisha tanoa.
Okay, so who do we have here? I can see, this is a little bit like Romper Room. I can see Alex and Leah and Des and Joe and Rainbow and Robin and Sarah and Shirl and Kate and Russell. So yeah, so there's a few people here. All right, so I thought we were all over doing Zooms for lockdown and those sorts of things. If you click on the most recent link, it's working. Yes, the most recent link is working. So thanks for that, guys. It's a bit of a process, but nice to see you all here. So yeah, I've got a discussion that I'd like to have with you tonight, which is the origins of Hermeticism and Western magic, which it's a really interesting discussion. So I was going to go through that with you, you know, as a lead into the magic workshop that we will have once the lockdowns finish. But questions, let's start with questions first. Hey, Russell, I can see you. Yay. So as people get in, they come up, and I think I have to let people in. Now, you guys know, if you want to comment, if you want to say something, your audio is switched off, and you actually have to click on the little audio symbol if you want to say something. All right. So can you all hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Hello,
I can hear you.
Hey.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, because
So Shé, those people who can't get on, I tried on my MacBook and it said meeting ID invalid. And then I tried on the phone, no problem. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that says, but someone might be able to, I've sent a message on the group telling them that.
Yeah, I can see that.
They may be able to get in on phone instead of PC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we're going to have to start the meeting, and they're going to have to sort it out for themselves now. I've always found Zoom one of those things where it's good sometimes, it's a little bit hit and miss. So yeah, I can see a few people getting their dinner and getting settled. What a good idea. Make yourselves really comfortable tonight, just as if, you know, we were all in the same room together. So, okay, and I've got a cup of tea, so I'm set. I'm happy. All right, so any questions? So so we've got a few unusual names, but I'm assuming that's just people I've invited and they're jumping in on their iPhones. Thanks, Russell. Okay, so any questions? Anybody want to put any questions forward? All right, so will I just start the discussion, and if anybody wants to ask questions, then we'll do it that way? Okay. All right, so let's try it that way. So thank you for joining in tonight. I really appreciate that. If anybody does want to send us a donation for tonight, you know, you don't have to, because hey, you're not drinking our coffee or eating our food tonight. But if you do want to send a donation, you're welcome to go to our PayPal and just do you know, a $5 donation, which is, you know, which will cover the evening. But we're not paying for the Skype, you know, we're not paying for the meetup on this here. We're only paying for the meetup on the other group. But we've got 40 minutes because this is a free Zoom call. So yeah, so just anybody that wants to ask questions, anybody who's never been to one of our groups before, the way that they basically work is we've got a great big pool of spiritual wisdom between everybody. This is a discussion group. If we get stuck, I will certainly help out. I usually have a topic. But if you want to ask questions, if there's something that's been worrying you or you've been thinking about during the week, I'm happy to discuss that with you. Yeah, but the Hermetic Magic is the one that I was going to discuss. Yeah, because we've been getting ready. We're trying to swap Magick Magazine to a dedicated YouTube channel. So we're trying to get ready for that, putting some stuff off the old YouTube channel, putting it across to Magick, but also making it very interactive. So we'll have things on there, skills that you can develop, spells that you can do, but also history, accurate history. Like I've been looking at a few academic channels about magic on the internet, and really they've got no idea. Like they repeat what they're taught at the university, but you know, nobody connects the thoughts together. So one thing I wanted to show you tonight is where the idea of magic comes from, right? And how we get the words, where it comes from, what it means, how it's got demonized, which is very unfortunate. Yeah, but yeah, let's discuss that, unless somebody else wants to discuss something else. Is there anything else that anybody's been having an issue with? Now, if you want to talk to me, you've just got to click on your microphone and that will switch you on for a comment. But it's a good idea to switch yourself off afterwards. Otherwise, if you end up sneakily going to the toilet, we will hear everything. You know, and you don't want to do that. All right. So yeah, so that way we're not bombarded with all your background noise as well. So that's a good idea. So just if you've got a question, just click on your little microphone. If you're sitting there in your Ugg boots and your pajamas and you don't want us to see you, you can hide yourself on the camera as well. But I mean, I love seeing your face. I don't care if you're in your pajamas and your Ugg boots. I just kick my Ugg boots off. So there you go. But I'm not in my pajamas. All right. All right. Well, there doesn't seem to be a lot of. Oh, there's Lisa. Yay, Lisa! She's made it in. All right. Okay.
Okay. Shé, can you define hermeneutics?
Hermetics.
Hermetics?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Spell it and define it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
It's from the god Hermes. 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 Yeah, Hermes. Hermetics is Hermetics. Hermetics. All right. Hermes was the god of magic in ancient Greece. All right. And you'll often hear people refer to Hermes Trismegistus. Right. So with Hermes Trismegistus or Hermes thrice great is where a lot of our Western ideas about magic come from. Now, what I love about, you know, I was going back and doing this research because I'm going to lead people through these ideas, is that when Hermetics started, Hermetics was the idea that magic was a science, right? And that if in your old academics around the turn of last millennium, they were very good all-rounders. Think about the ancient Greeks. Sure, you had Greeks that were very well known for mathematics and some that were known for physics and geometry and things like that. But really an academic had to do everything. They would be like Leonardo da Vinci, they would be a cartographer as well as a mathematician and an astronomer. And they would do alchemy and hermetics. Now, hermetics was the science of studying all these different folk religions that practice magic and putting it together in what was they considered to be a scientific format that worked by repeatable method, right? So, you know, they started with some basic principles, and the basic principles that the Hermetics had was the 7 Hermetic principles based on the 7 planets, all right? And each of those principles you work through like an initiation with yourself, and it would actually make you a better person. It's like the study of alchemy. Alchemy, yeah, we think about alchemy as, you know, scientists trying to change base metals into gold, but it was also about transforming yourself from something that was base into something that was sacred, right? And so your Hermetic principles go along with that alchemy, and there's a lot of crossovers between alchemy and Hermetics. But it's based on some principles today that have now become the cornerstone of our scientific world. So this is why it's really, really interesting to look at, because science today tries to go, oh yeah, we'll take this bit, but we're not accepting that. And when science does that, when science gets very one-eyed about things, then they only see half the picture, right? Where our ancient scholars looked at it with a much more broad view, right? So a very good idea of that is Isaac Newton, right? To give us an idea of what we mean by Hermetics. When we think of Isaac Newton, we think of apples falling from trees, hitting people on the head, and oh, gravity is discovered. Gravity was discovered a long time before that, because we know that if you drop something, it falls towards the earth. But what he actually was famous for coming up with were these three principles of action, reaction, and cost. And they are the cornerstones of Hermetic philosophy. It has come into Wicca to be the threefold law of return. So it's got like a little bit even mucked around by that. But the idea is, when you want to create something, when you want to do something, you're going to have to expend energy. There will be a push back, a reaction to that energy, and that expense of energy will cost you something, right? So if we're going to pick up a cup of tea, right, it costs us energy. We've had to actually consume something to give us enough energy to be able to pick that up. Right? And the reaction to that is that we get some inertia pushing it up and gravity pulling it back down, and Shé having a sip. So according to ancient Hermetics, this is an act of magic, lifting up a cup. All right, that magic is in everything around us all the time. All right, and the more we understand it, the more we can make supposedly miraculous things happen, because we're understanding these laws of action, reaction, and cost. So everybody thinks of Newton as a scientist. They don't think of him as an alchemist. You know, he wrote 70% of what Newton wrote was on alchemy. He wrote books on hermetics, right, as well as mathematics, astronomy, physiology, all those other things as well. Right. So what happened to these ancient, very, very wise people? Right? Were they all men? Right? And how did magic get separated out from all of our sciences? Right? How did it get sanitized to the point of we only get half the picture, and then they muck up and have to try and navigate their way back? All right, so let's go back 500 years before Jesus Christ, right? Because things get really crazy within the 3 years after the person we call Jesus Christ. So we'll go back before him. And around that 500 years before Christ, we have some interesting things happening in the world. We have Pythagoras in Greece, well, actually he's in Turkey, but we have Pythagoras. We have Buddha happening in India, and also Krishna around that same time. Right, so there's three people performing miracles. Now, a lot of people again think of Pythagoras only by the right angle triangle, but Pythagoras had a mystery school. He was a mystic first and foremost, and he believed in numbers, and he believed in music, and he believed in science. So, and he actually went from Turkey. He went all the way through Tibet to India. Then he came back, stayed in Egypt. All the time he was staying with people. And he actually stayed with a group of people that were supposedly very advanced with, as we would see our society today, because he actually with some of the writings that are left behind, we see that they had machines and automatons and things like that. So he calls it an automaton, but we would call it a car, you know. Now, Pythagoras, he lived a very long time. He lived to at least 101 years of age. His main goddess was Hygiene or Hygeia, right? And he laid down a lot of principles. Now, most of what we know about Pythagoras, we don't have anymore. It's only people who wrote about Pythagoras. The main person who wrote about Pythagoras was initially his wife. So when Pythagoras was 70, he ended up marrying a 21-year-old woman and finally having children. And but she was like his A student, and she convinced him that he should marry her because he was denying the world a lineage. So she was very much a Pythagorean fan as well. Now, we won't go into all the details of the Pythagorean mystery school today, but suffice to say, central to what they taught was music, sun gazing, magic, and the idea that we are surrounded by spirit all the time. That numbers are spirits that want us to help solve mathematical problems was one of his big teachings. So there were some writings that Pythagoras was supposed to have left. Now, 500 years after he died, came along another Pythagorean student called Apollonius. Have you guys ever heard of a guy called Apollonius? Apollonius of Tyana? Right, yeah, he's very amazing, right? Because he's a contemporary of Jesus Christ. So there was Jesus Christ in Israel, and there was Apollonius again in Turkey. A lot of people say that Apollonius was the reincarnation of Pythagoras. Pythagoras left him writings and told him to go and find these people who knew everything, right, in what we now know as Shambhala or the Upper Indus Valley. Some very, very detailed writings. But what we have is a really interesting situation, because we know Apollonius of Tyana was a historical figure. He again lived to over 100 years of age, approximately 115, they say. He was credited with doing all of the same miracles that Jesus Christ did, you know, virgin birth, signs in the heaven when he was born, he raised the dead, he healed the sick, he fed the masses. He did all of the same miracles of Jesus Christ, to the point where a lot of people go, we actually think that Apollonius was Jesus Christ, right? Now, why would, if there was a person called Apollonius, we know there was, why would somebody potentially make up another being called Jesus Christ, or just turn all the stories of Apollonius into Jesus stories? All right, well, what we have around the 3rd century is we have the thing called, well, Constantine established a worldwide Roman Empire, right? So, and that happened around 300. So we have Rome and the Byzantine Empire. So we have one based out of Turkey, one based out of Rome, right? Both essentially Christian, right? What we might know loosely as Christian, but they hate each other, really hate each other, and they're vying for dominance, right? Constantine decided to accept Christianity as his state religion because he could see that it was a religion that was based on military lines with a military hierarchy, and it taught people to be subordinate to power, right? But with the Byzantine Empire, they already had Apollonius, and Apollonius was teaching people to be empowered. And the stories that were written about the official stories of Apollonius are very anti-Rome. But you'll see a lot of what we call Gnostic beliefs in the things written about Apollonius. Now, what the academics don't get, and I don't understand why they don't get this, is that we have this church You know, people go, what happened? Why didn't we end up with two messiahs? Why did we just end up with Jesus Christ? And how come Apollonius is forgotten? Because the Byzantine Empire went down and Rome came up, right? So Jesus Christ being the Messiah for the Roman Church, right? He became the dominant one when they conquered the Byzantine Empire, right? What it appears as well is that a lot of these Gnostic churches that practice magic, that used to have things like the Goetia, you know, they suddenly become demonized. All magic is demonized. Anything that empowers people is demonized, and it starts to get put down. Now, interestingly, this starts around the probably the start of the 5th century, end of the 4th century, sort of like from the 390s through to about 420. Because what we have there is a really interesting situation in Alexandria in Egypt. Now, Alexandria had been the center of the world for exchanging ideas for a very long time, since the times of Alexander the Great. And he took ideas from India and brought them back there and gathered, you know, science, you know, with Aristotle. Aristotle was his main science guy, you know, he was his Dr. Spock. And with all of these, he put them all together and made Alexandria in Egypt his capital. And it's very interesting that most esoteric traditions trace their beginnings back to about that time in Egypt. They try and trace it back earlier. Yes, Pythagoras went there. Yes, Apollonius went there. So it does have an earlier origin, but they trace it back to that time. And the main teacher at that time was a lady called Hypatia. Have we heard of Hypatia? Hypatia of Alexandria.
Yes.
So getting some thumbs up. Hey Lisa, how are you?
Hello.
She's hiding away in the
I made it.
Yeah. So so Hypatia was quite amazing, but at that time there was a lot of female teachers. Alexandria had what they called the museum, the Alexandrian Museum. There was the Alexandrian Library. The Alexandrian Museum was the first true university in the world. It was actually a building. You could go and do different courses of study. Hypatia and her father Theon were two of the main teachers there. Hypatia was very, very well known. People traveled from all over the world to be in her classes and study with her. All right. One of the things she was teaching that made her very unpopular was elliptic geometries. In other words, the earth goes around the sun instead of the sun going around the earth is not the center of the universe. And the Catholic Church, the Roman Church at that time, was just like, hang on, that's undermining our power base, you know. We're teaching that the earth is the center of the universe, you know, that makes us important to God. All right, so they lumped, and you can see with the writings of the time, they hate magic teachings because it's undermining, you know, the church's people's dependence upon the church. Why do you need a Messiah if you can become empowered and have a direct relationship with any sort of spirit yourself? They hated mathematics, they hated science because it contradicted them and made people more powerful. They were burning mathematicians, they were burning scientists, right? And Hypatia, the prefect of Alexandria, sent Hypatia away. He sent her to Greece, and then when she came back, he urged her to convert to the Church of Rome, even though she was really, you know, a Neoplatonist, which are sort of like pagan Christians, you know, so they accept a lot of those things that Christians accept. But he said, no, convert to the Church of Rome instead of the church, any of the other churches. And she went, no, it shouldn't matter what I teach. Truth is truth. So they ended up grabbing her as she was coming back from one of her lectures. They pulled her off her chariot. They dragged her into what used to be one of the temples of Serapis that had been converted to a church, a Christian church. And they basically it was a mob. They beat her, they pulled her hair out, and then even further to make her, she was very beautiful apparently by all the accounts, they decided to cut her skin off with seashells, and that killed her. She was then dragged out of there to somewhere called the centrum, and she was burnt in the centrum. Right? And some people say that the centrum is another term for the Library of Alexandria, and that she was burnt on a pyre of the books, and that was what caused the burning of the Library of Alexandria, was actually Hypatia's death. So yeah, so after that, with her death, she was such an amazing academic, magical person, but with her death comes the Dark Ages. And we know that through until about the 1700s, you know, Leonardo da Vinci sort of symbolizes the beginning of the end of the Dark Ages. But the real Renaissance didn't start till the 1700s. So from 300 to 1700. So for nearly 1100 years, we've got knowledge is not really valued unless it's, you know, you're a philosopher for the church. That's really all that they value at that point, and upholding the Roman church ideas. Women become really unpopular. There was a pope in the Byzantine area. It was a Pope-S, right? So the Pope-S gets killed. We see attacks on women, but there's also attacks on men as well, you know, especially educated men. And so people flee, and one of the places that they hide is in the Arabic Empire, which is not having a persecution because of religion, believe it or not. They're very much, there is verses in the Quran that say, if a foreigner flees to your soil, you must protect them, give them food, and allow them their religion. Right? Do not persecute people for their religion. So, oh, Emma's there. Hey, Emma. Oh, hey, Emma. How are you doing? Yeah, so it was quite interesting, and that's why a lot of Islamic science was still quite advanced. You know, they were still teaching, women were still being taught to read, you know, up until, you know, women really weren't allowed to vote, weren't allowed to read, weren't really encouraged to go to school till the 1700s as well. Oh, Zoom has just said that they've removed the 40-minute limit time on our group meeting for tonight as a gift. Yay, so we can keep going. See, magic, yay.
Yay. Welcome, Emma, too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because we were going to have to sort of sign out, sign back in. So
That would be scary. I don't know if we could do it again.
Oh, no. It's supposed to be so easy. Like you get on there and watch the videos and they go, it's so easy, just do this, that, and the other. It's never that easy.
Oh, I got here. That's the main thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's really interesting. So you start to look at things like the Mithraic traditions that were attacked and undermined, the Gnostics, the Albigensian Crusades, the Cathars, all of these sorts of things seem to have come through that Byzantine, Pythagorean, you know, teaching the philosophy that Apollonius had taught, that Hypatia had taught. And you can see where this absolute demonizing of anything that's against the church comes from when you start to look at it like these two factions fighting against one another. Right? And we can see where a lot of these Gnostic beliefs come from. You know, Pythagoras believed that the planets have a personality. Hermetic philosophy is about tapping into those planetary energies, right? We are star stuff. Scientifically, we know this now. Everything in our solar system is made from the particles of our solar wind, including us, 100%. All right, so we know now that we're made out of elements of all of these planets. So these particles from the planets and the solar wind have exchanged, and we have pieces of this inside us. So when these planets, you know, come above us in the sky, what energies are accessible for us to be able to tap into. And that's what the Hermetic philosophy is about, meeting and understanding these planetary energies. You know, it's interesting because the Gnostics call them evil energies, right? Because they exert a huge influence over us. And they say that they stop us trying to get back to the source. Whereas, you know, Pythagorean philosophy basically says that we use all of these to empower ourselves. And if we are empowered, well, we are divine. So we are back with the source again. So, yeah. But sun gazing is there as well. And it's very interesting that modern magic, like modern popular Llewellyn style witchcraft, ignores solar traditions, right? And this solar tradition is just so powerful. Moon magic is great. It certainly works. There's nothing wrong with moon magic, but this solar tradition, and Hermetic magic is a solar tradition. And it's been going from since the time of Pythagoras, with all of these influences of science, what we will one day again acknowledge as science, but we now call magic, from all of the different parts of the world, you know, from you know, India all the way back through to the known world at that time. If they discovered something new, they all wanted to know about it. It's like sharing a scientific discovery. So, you know, they wanted to know the philosophies of these different areas. So I'm going to put up like a far more detailed history of Pythagoras. Well, I've actually got Pythagoras up already. I've got him on the, I'm trying to get a Patreon page going, but he's up on the Patreon page, and we'll have him up there for a while, but we will stick him on the Magick Magazine group as well, which is on YouTube. So as we get more information, you know, as I produce more information, I'm going to stick it up there. But I'm aiming to have like semi-professional clips up there, because a lot of my lectures and things I've done, people complain that they can't hear the audio properly and they couldn't see the illustrations on the PowerPoint presentations. So I'm going to try and make sure that they are up there for everybody. And there will certainly be resources that you can use as we start to study this further. Yeah. So I don't know if Dion's here with us. Is Dion here tonight? Because I know Dion was asking about this. Yeah. Oh, Alex. I think I thought, hi Alex, how are you? I've let Alex in a couple of times now. So I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully Alex will be able to be in with us. Yeah. So yeah, because I can see that there's a few people here that have got unusual names, and it must be like the name of their iPhone or something. But anyway, so yeah. So that's why I condensed that down to a really short discussion for 30 minutes tonight, so that we wouldn't go over the 40-minute mark. Yeah, so that was a very quick introduction to the history of Hermetics, where it comes from, why it's a big influence on Western magic, and why this demonizing. Like, I can't understand how people can't see that when a new government takes over, it demonizes the belief systems of the previous government. We even have it with our two-party system here in Australia, you know, so much more so with their gods. The gods of the previous regime become the demons of the next, you know, they can't have them being powerful and superior. You know, that's just not on. But it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Yeah. One of my favorite deities that I love to work with is, can you see that one? Everybody's going to go, oh no. Right. Can you see that one? So that's Asteroth, right? Asteroth is a goddess from ancient Babylon. She was the goddess of success, right? And Babylon had a very, very long empire. It lasted for a long, long time. And you actually see her transform into different deities as she goes through Egypt. I mean, Egyptian mythology accepts Asteroth. Asteroth is also Ishtar, right? So Ishtar, Asteroth is the same deity. And like she just gets put straight into their mythology. She gets put almost straight into Greek mythology as the older mother goddess, but she's sexy as well. So she's like an older version of Aphrodite. Yeah, so but very, very powerful. I just get a really motherly energy from her. And certainly when I need success with something, I have a long chat with her, and she's like, and if I get a feeling from her that she goes, yeah, you're going to be successful. It usually works. So she's very much associated with the planet Venus, right? So her Hermetic energy is Venusian, right? She is a sort of a Venus energy in Greek culture. She was the morning star, the rising star on the horizon. That's why even today in the Islamic symbol, they have the crescent moon for women with the morning star there, because they're acknowledging how they still owe their legacy to Ishtar, right? To that great female. Yeah. Even though a lot of Islamic people wouldn't realize that, anybody who has studied Ishtar would know that. The interesting thing about Hermetics is the more you study the 7 energies, the more you get out of it. You get an initiation into each one of the 7 energies, and you start to feel them as people. But the more you study it, the more you use it, the more you know, the easier it is to tap into you, or you to tap into it. And the more it becomes part of you, the more you're hooked in with the universe. I see the point of Hermetics is to make you a good person, like a really good person, but empowered. Because when people start to learn Hermetics, and I was going to invited a friend from the United States in, who had an experience with one of my ex-students who took some Hermetic knowledge and started doing stupid things with it. Things have gone very bad for them. And I was going to get her to share what she knew of that. She's not with the group tonight. She had to go to bed. It's late over there, or early. It'd be very early in the morning. Yeah, so, and it's nice that there are people like, I've got somebody who's trying to hook in from Singapore and all over the place. So there's some nice people on tonight from all over the place. So, yeah, so that's a lot of information. I know it's condensed. I will give you more as we go through with it. This is very much what Shambhala is based on and what we do. So questions. So what do you want to know about that? Sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say? I can see your sound's on, Lisa.
Yep, my sound's on, but
Yeah.
it wasn't my question.
It wasn't yours? It was
No.
somebody? Okay. All right. So seeing as how we've got extended time, we might as well use it. So guys, what do you want to have a look at? I asked Kelly to jump in because Kelly had some questions earlier about spell candles, and she didn't jump in.
Shé, I was just wondering if you can view your the chat in case anyone wants to type a question rather than say it.
I think if somebody does type, like I can't see the chat window at the moment, but I think if somebody types a question in, it will come up.
Because
You want to
I
try
clicked
that,
on
Jill? Just type below or something. I'll see if it pops up.
I clicked on chat below, and I've got the chat panel over open at the right.
Oh yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, I didn't realize I had to click on it. There we go.
Yeah, just thought some people might like to type a question rather than say it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Shé, I've got a question.
Yeah, go for it, darling.
So if I got this right, Apollonius
Yeah.
or Apollonia was in Turkey, and so was Constantine.
Yeah, yeah. But Constantine, go on, you go first.
Were they at the same time?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Constantine was later. He was he had the Council of Nicaea about 390. Yeah. Apollonius
Right.
was
So
about the same time as Jesus Christ, which was about 1. Yeah. So
that's right. So I've got that now. Yep. Okay.
yeah.
So
Constantine, yeah, had Constantinople, over in Turkey.
yes. So he was actually he raised the center of power for the Christian world because he decided to adopt Christianity. But you're saying that the Roman Catholic power, ultimately overcame Constantine.
Well, after his
Or did
death.
he after his death, right? So his power base dissipated when he dissipated.
Yeah, I think it was within one or two generations. It was very quick.
Yeah.
Because he tried to keep it all central and together by he killed his sons, he killed his wife, he killed everybody. And that one of the reasons he adopted Christianity was he spoke to all of these other religions, and they all went, well, you're going to have to pay for it. There's going to be a price. You've done what you thought was right, but there's still going to be a price. Action, reaction, cost. And the only ones that said, no, you won't have to, was not the Christians, but the Roman Christians. They were like, oh, no, all you got to do is give us some money and we'll give you some absolution.
Yeah, some plenary indulgences they eventually turned into. Yeah. Okay, well, that answers my question. But Hypatia, when was Hypatia? What time period? Because I was writing notes, but I don't seem to have got that bit.
She died in 415 AD. So
okay, cool.
And she was 40 when she was born, so that would have made her about 369, 370 when she was born, I think. Can't remember offhand. I'd have to look that up, but yeah, she's 42 when she died. Yeah.
Thank you.
She was the very first little fly there. Very first pagan martyr to the Christian church.
That's the movie recommended, isn't it?
Sorry?
The movie you told us to watch last time was on SBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. It was really good.
Isn't it?
I loved it.
I know.
Yeah, I loved it.
Rachel,
what was that?
That's such a good part.
What was the movie?
It was called Agora.
Yeah.
Agora. Actually, if we're doing messages, I might be able to look up the link. I know I think I sent Des all the links.
I just watched it on the One Demand catch up.
Yeah.
And typed it in. I found it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's easy. If you've got SBS on demand, it's easy to find.
It's really good, Russell.
Cool. Thanks for that. I'll look it up. And thanks for the answers, Shé.
You're welcome. I can't see where I've sent those links through, but it's it's Agora. Agora is it's come to mean an exchange of ideas, but it was literally the place where she used to sit to have her discussions. Right. So yeah. So it was the it wasn't just Hypatia. Hypatia wasn't the only one that taught at the Agora. Anybody could go and stand in the Agora and say, oh, I've got an idea, I've got a theory, I want to discuss this with the public. Right. But became the place where the Christians used to really push their ideas, and then it's where they very first started killing people. Where Christians started eliminating their opposition was the Agora as well. So it went from being this place where you could go and have these really interesting discussions to where people were terrified to go there. Yeah. So yeah, but Hypatia backwards, Apollonius and Pythagoras. That's the lineage you've got to look through. And then when you start looking at all of these other little religions, and you see so many conspiracy theories on YouTube, you know, that you can see that the ones that the church has tried to wipe out come from this Hermetic, you know, tradition, right? Hermetic or Gnostic tradition. It's actually more Hermetic, because Gnostic is very much just one stream of thought, whereas the Hermetic includes a lot more. Yeah, and the idea of the Goetia is that, you know, every academic calls it a book of demons online, but you go back and you have a look, and Asteroth is in this Goetia, and they are all strong deities from these different traditions that were Hermetic aspects of these different planets. So yeah, 72 of them. But the church just brought out a book that just demonized it all. And the word Goetia, there's a lot of theories about it, but it's very easy to trace where the word Goetia comes from. And the idea is, if somebody died in Europe, they still do it in Asia. You still see professional mourners in Asia, but in Europe, if somebody died, you would pay somebody who was Goetic. They would come and they would cry out to the spirits, right, and mourn at that person's funeral for you. So Goetia is a cry out to the spirit. You know, it's not an evil thing at all. You know, it's somebody from the heart really crying out to spirit. And it's got that feel of being a professional who does it as well. Whereas Magick is a direct Turkish word, which is a personal wisdom. So you sort of magic, as we understand it, is a combination of speaking to spirit, working with spirit, and being a personal wisdom. Yeah.
Shé, one more question if no one's got a question at the moment, but I don't want to hog the forum.
No, that's right. You go for it.
This might sound like a bit of a dumb question. Not a dumb question, but a simple question. Because we've got, you know, the Abrahamic history is recorded in the Old Testament, and then you've got the newer Christian era recorded in the so-called New Testament books, and there's many books that aren't in the Bible. We understand that. But with regards to the gods and goddesses that you refer to, the Greek, I believe there's probably writings about those gods. But where did, is there writings about all of these gods and goddesses, and that's how we've come to know them? Or is it like a spiritual, intuition, connection that people have come to know these gods and goddesses?
Very good question, Russell. I really like that question. The answer is yes and yes. All right. So there are a lot of writings around about them. A good starting point for a lot of people is the Homeric hymns, right, that speak about the Greek, archetype of these deities, of these planetary energies. But we can certainly, we find out more about them all the time, historically, academically. There's always new things being found, new tablets being translated, new papyri being found. So there are lots of surviving things. You know, yes, the church did try to wipe things out, but the very wise Hermetics started burying them literally in the burial grounds with people, knowing that one day they would be dug up. So, they started writing them on lead tablets so that they wouldn't break down. They devised a method of writing on papyri and preserving papyri for 3,000 years, very clever. So they knew that there would be a day where these things would be brought to light, literally exhumed and brought to light again. But the other thing, and I think probably the most important part of the Hermetic experience, is the experience. Once you get to know them, you get an initiation, you do have a personal experience with these energies. And there are some of these energies that just obviously you work better with, you like better with, you like more, they like you more, and they will take you on a little bit like a concerned parent or a good friend. Yeah. And there's certainly, like, if you can get, it's like, it really is like your good friends. You got to work with a lot of these spirits, but if you end up with a handful of them that are really into you and you're into them, you know, you end up with some really good friends. You're so lucky. All right. And that's what this is about, building up that relationship. And it becomes a working relationship. You know, that sometimes you'll pick an energy that you feel you lack, right? Then you've got to work a little harder, because obviously that spirit of that energy, the energy of that spirit's not with you if you want to incorporate that into your own divinity. But there's always things that are our fortes, and those energies are with us quite easily, because that spirit will recognize that energy within you quite easily, and they go, "Ooh, here's one I can adopt." You know? And it comes, yeah. So yes, so yeah. Academically, yeah, you can keep reading, and there's plenty of old ancient texts. And the interesting thing about what you said, Russell, doing the Wiggles thing, is that the Bible, the Old Testament even, was changed. Now, I studied biblical theology for 10 years. So I'm, you know, I've had, that's my background. That's where I came from and came out of, where I started looking at the broader picture. But if anybody knows anything about the Bible, the Israelites went into Babylon around 70 BC, right? So it's about 70 years before Jesus Christ. So that, well, they came out of their exile around 70 years before Jesus Christ, and were allowed to go back to Israel and re-inhabit that land again. So, but they for a long time were absorbed by the Babylonian Empire, right? And when they came out, because they had been exposed to a lot of what we again would know as sort of Hermetic philosophy from the Babylonians, they went through a bit of an ethnic cleansing of their own. And there's a King Hezekiah, right? And Hezekiah got rid of a lot of, well, in the early part of the Bible, you'll find very vague references to the wife of God, right? The one that gets quoted a lot is, "Let us make man in our image according to our likeness, male and female, let us make them," right? And that's at the start of Genesis. So there was a god and a goddess originally in the Old Testament, right? And her name was Ashira. She was another form of Asteroth, the Ashira. She was essentially goddess of the trees, the wild places, and the high places. And you often see after that Hezekiah period that they go through wiping out the high places and chopping down the high places. And the people that pass their children through the fire to the gods. So a lot of people think that that's talking about sacrificing children. But get this, all right, what they would do, we've all smudged, right? So we know what smudging is, yeah? Where we get the smoke and purify ourselves and let anything that's not nice go up to heaven. All right, so that process that they're talking about is essentially a smudging, right? So what they would do is the mother would pass the child, they make this big smoking, it wasn't like a fire, but it was like smoldering and smoking of incense herbs. And then they would pass the newborn child through this fire. And as they pass it through, I dedicate this child to Asteroth, I dedicate it to Baal, and they pass it through to either the father or the auntie on the other side. Now, the reason why they would do that in Israel was there was a law that you had to pay the church 30 pieces of silver, was the firstborn price, because Abraham had given all the firstborn of all of Israel the men, the women, the children, all of their fowls, all of their beasts, all of their flocks, everything, the firstborn had to be given to the temple, which made the temple really wealthy. And they had to be given as sacrifices. So the child sacrifice was actually happening in ancient Israel. And if you passed your child through the fire and dedicated it to another god, you couldn't give it to the temple because it was already dedicated to another god and was considered unclean. So not only were they saving themselves 30 pieces of silver, if they were poor, they were saving that child's life, because it was their way of keeping social support to a minimum. You know, if you had a widow and she couldn't afford to keep her children, well, get rid of the firstborn, you know. So, yeah, and it's quite well documented that that's what happened, you know, but still you'll find on a million Christian propaganda, oh, they used to sacrifice. There is not one mention of child sacrifice in the Bible except for what they used to do themselves.
Yeah.
You know, the judges, in the book of Judges, one of the judges says, you give me this victory, I'll sacrifice my daughter, right? And he does, right? And this other town comes out when they're about to commit genocide and kill everybody in the town, right? They come out and they go, well, we've heard that you sacrifice children, so we'll make a child sacrifice here to Jehovah right now, and he won't let you destroy the city. And he doesn't. Jehovah looks at them and goes, oh, they're pleasing me, so leave them alone. So they're allowed to stay. So yeah, so obviously those references about passing children through the smoke across the fire are not about child sacrifice. It's really interesting, I've been looking at some Islamic academic stuff on YouTube, and each pre the advent of Islam, each of the Arabic tribes had spirits of place, right? So the Arabic Peninsula is just populated with jinn and genie who were, you know, this mountain, this peninsula, this body of water, this oasis, they each had a spirit, right? And they would, I'm sorry, there's just something flying around my head here, it won't go away. And the Mount Sinai, right, that used to shake and smoke, the Yahweh that was up there, or the spirit was up there, was considered to be an angry, nasty mountain god, you know, and he wasn't very well liked at all. So Allah was a very forgiving, loving, and it's almost like when you look at the Bible, you go from Yahweh to Allah to a certain degree, because you go from being the angry mountain god that's jealous and vengeful and wanting child sacrifice to this one that's more compassionate, loving and forgiving. Yeah, so yeah, but it does look like the Yahweh in the Bible is the angry mountain god of Mount Sinai from the Arabic tradition. Of the Old Testament, yeah, because it's definitely a completely different philosophy when you get to the New Testament. It's a blend of Israelite culture with Buddhist and Greek and Roman philosophy at the time.
Very good, thank you, Shé.
Sorry, who, thanks, Russell, appreciate that. Who else spoke then?
Oh, it was me. I just said it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I know. I can go on a bit quick. So, yeah, I've had years to absorb it, and I get really excited. I go, hey guys, let me just tell you everything all at once. Yeah.
No, thank
Yeah, but it's there if you want to check it out for yourself. You'll find it. And now that you've seen it and been told about it, you'll go through it and you'll go, that's why the widow of Nain thought Elijah had come to kill her son. The priest was coming to collect the widow's firstborn. Yeah. Yeah, you'll start.
Shé,
it'll all fit in. Yeah.
Shé, Des has had his hand up for quite a while.
Oh, Des, I couldn't see you. Just, hey, how are you? I can see Caesar there.
I'm fine.
Hey, Des.
I'm fine.
Hey, listen, I didn't realize that was you, Caesar, with the CDKI. Hey, everybody know it's Caesar's birthday?
Oh, happy birthday, Caesar.
Yeah, happy birthday, Caesar.
Right.
Happy birthday, Caesar.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do better than that, people. Come
All
on.
right.
Happy birthday,
Birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
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 birthday
birthday
to
to you. Happy
special
birthday, dear
dear
Caesar.
Caesar.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to you.
you. Hip, hip,
Hooray!
Hey,
hip, hip,
Hip,
Right.
hooray!
hip,
Hip,
hip.
hip, hooray!
I reckon when we get out of lockdown, we'll get together and we'll have a get together for Caesar's birthday and a few of
Of
us.
course.
I think that's a good
No,
idea.
I'm glad I got to spend this evening with you guys.
We are
We're
too.
happy to see you. We're happy to see you looking well.
I have been. I'm calling this year 1 instead of 41 because there's been a lot of changes energy-wise, and a lot of things I feel are being manifest in front of me. So it's good times. It's exciting times, and I look back and the person I was and everything, all the layers and pre-programming of everything that this world had to offer has completely vanished in it. I feel like I'm a newborn after this 1 year. So it's a good place to be.
Excellent.
Exciting.
Excellent. We're very happy for you.
And nice to see all the familiar faces out there. Hope you all having a good lockdown and isolation, but it shouldn't be too much longer, hopefully.
Yeah. It's
Hopefully
actually-
not.
Yeah, and nice for me to get in the room, get away from them out there for a while. It's good. I'm having a very busy lockdown. All right, so sorry about that. Des, where are you?
Right.
Yeah, tell me.
What? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, wonderful. What's the relationship to spirits in Muslim at the moment? Do you know? Like when I was traveling in the Middle East, I talked to a few people, and there was no real knowledge at all about, say, Western spiritualism, talking through mediums and stuff like that. I didn't come across anybody who had that idea.
It's really interesting because there are as many different sects of Islam as there are Christian sects, and they can believe some very different things. Like the studies that I have originally had with Islamic people was with Sufism, and yet
Right.
I studied with I asked a question. Like there was went to the Wicca conference in Canberra a couple of years ago, and I asked the question, you know, I've read the Quran and found nothing that says that women have got to keep their head covered or wear any particular form of dress. Whereabouts in the Quran is that? And he said, oh, I'll show you. It's not in the Quran. It's in their later laws. It's in their surahs. And then he said, oh, you know a lot about Islam. Well, how do you know? And I said, well, I've done Sufi studies. And he went, oh, Sufi. And he didn't speak to me again for the whole weekend. Not because I was a witch, but because I'd had Sufi studies, you know. So they're actually very divided amongst themselves, you know.
Right.
And yeah, so and I can tell you with different, like I get a lot of work from the UAE. I've got a lot of clients in Dubai, so, and I do mediumship and stuff for them. So I know they do know about it, and there are a lot of people who are open to that spirituality, but I think sometimes we confuse the individuals with a group or collective of groups. So,
But although you got the jinns and the genies as part of the local traditions, haven't you?
oh, very much.
The desert spirits.
They seem to be very frightened of the jinn, and yet
Right.
even in the writings, you know, they are people made out of fire, the same way that we're
Right.
made out of the earth, and they can be good, bad, or indifferent. Right.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
the ban in Israel, when we read about the witch of Endor, how did all of this anti-spiritualism develop in Israel? Do you know, since you studied that?
Well, I
how did
don't know
that-
much about what's happening in Israel today. I must.
No, I mean in the past, yeah. When we read the story in the Old Testament about the where the Saul goes to the witch and gets his advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why was that there? Why was that? Do you know? Is it just the power structure at the time against spiritualism?
There is when you read it, right? You read through. There's actually nothing in the Bible that's anti-witch until the translation by King James, right? When King James is the person, the individual who killed more witches than any other person on this planet. In his hometown of Scotland, he killed 3,000 in one go. You know, so, and he was using it to get rid of his political opponents, males and females. So, oh, is that Jules? No, somebody's coming in. Yeah, so there's actually nothing anti-witch in the Bible until the early 1700s, late 1600s, early 1700s. With the King James Version, the word that he translates as witch in the Bible, where in that verse in Exodus it says, "Do not let a witch dwell among you," it's actually a poisoner. It's the word mahashephet, which means poisoner. Right. So yeah. So, but you will see that you know, the Levites, they had the Urim and the Thummim on their. They had a breastplate with stones in it. Right, on the Levitical priests, they had a breastplate that had nine crystals.
Right.
And they actually used that for geomancy. They used it for divination themselves. But there was definitely a state authorized divination and there was a definite non-state authorized divination. So you got to remember, all the miracles in the Bible are things that most psychics do anyway. Right. But yeah, there's definitely anything that went against the temple was gotten rid of, right? And that's a little bit why Constantine really liked the religion of the Bible, the religion of the book, because you know it was not tolerant of anything that undermined the state. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but no, the Witch of Endor was definitely endorsed by two kings, by Samuel, the main prophet of God at that time, right? And she was giving a message from God that proved to be true. So it was 100% true prophecy she gave. So she was just a state authorized one, not one of the non-state authorized ones. She was licensed, she was bona fide. But if you weren't and you were practicing and the church and the temple wasn't getting their cut, you would have been in strife.
So that's the original cancel culture.
Yeah. She was bona fide, but there were a lot of people that weren't. And if you got your divination powers from anywhere else and you're unauthorized by the state, by the church, by the temple, could go very badly, especially after the time of Hezekiah. Things seem to get quite bad. I've stretched poor Lisa's mind awfully. I'm going to stretch your mind again. So we spoke about Jehovah and Ashira. So Ashira was his counterpart, right?
Yep.
And her main place of worship, her main center of worship within Israel, where they've excavated a lot of stuff from her, it's called Kanti. So yeah, so that word is actually a divine word, and after the time of Hezekiah, you can see that it sort of took on its swear word value. So,
I have heard it's a divine word. Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah,
I did know that, but I didn't know exactly where it came from.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So I was told that it was an honorific. If someone called you that, they were calling you a goddess.
Well,
and I was told that through the ages and predominantly Franco-English, around that time it was used as a curse word, but it might have been a lot earlier.
Yeah,
But
it was an honorific
that's why
for the wife of God.
if someone calls you that, you can say, "Why, thank you for the honor."
It really does sort of reverse it when you go back to the origin. Yeah. Really? You're telling me I'm as strong as the wife of God? Well, maybe I am. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought you'd like that, Lisa. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah.
All right. So look, I can only see like 6 people across the top of my screen. So if anybody else has got hands up or want anything, you just got to switch your microphone on and speak, because I can't see everybody all the time. So if there's anybody wants anything else, you just got to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think like tonight we'll do a meditation, or do you want me to? You reckon it'll work over Zoom? No,
Oh, it'd work, but
I'm getting a few people shaking their heads that I can see. I just think it'd be a little bit distracting to try and do meditation over Zoom. Yeah, but I think what would be good is perhaps instead of meditation, you could do a little bit of research tonight. Maybe do a bit of fun, watch a few YouTube clips, look at some things that we've discussed. If you can find the Magick Magazine YouTube, you're very welcome to join. I am going to send out an email when I'm ready to start, when I think I've got enough content up there for it to be a workable course for people to follow to get knowledge. But if you want to have a look, you certainly can. I could probably share that with you if you wanted me to.
Before everyone goes, I just want to say I just realised that I look like a demon in my photo in the corner, and I don't know if that's how I look to everyone else. So
Yeah,
I'm really sorry.
You don't look like a demon. You just look mysterious and dark in the corner.
All I can see is 2 eyes, and because I haven't been concentrating on them too. Yeah.
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 So sorry.
I'd say maybe an Ewok, but not a demon.
Okay. That's not so bad.
Okay, so let me just have a look here. I think I'm actually open there. So just pop this up here if anybody wants to jump on. If you want to jump on and subscribe, you'll see things as we start to put them up. There we go. Copy. Now, can I put a message up here? I can see everybody's chat. I don't know if I can chat. Can I chat? Everyone directly, if everybody can participate. I just can't see how I can chat.
Don't ask me.
Oh, yeah,
I
here
don't
we
know how.
go. Yeah, no, I found it by accident. There we go. Fluked it. There we go. So there's the link to the Magick Magazine YouTube channel, I think. All right, and there's only a few videos up there at this stage, but it will grow. Yeah, so we're gonna get that larger. And Russell, you're on the Patreon, aren't you? So you can go and have a look at the Pythagoras video on Patreon already, because you're on Patreon.
I'm on Patreon, but I must admit I've forgotten all about your website, so I need to find the details of that.
Yeah, but the video's on there. It probably, I don't know, when I put stuff up, it's supposed to send you a notification. So
look, it might do. I've got an email. You know how every time you sign on to or ask a question online, they want your email.
yeah.
So that email is so clogged that it's probably in there, and I've stopped looking at it. But I'll dig it out. I'll do a search. But thanks for that.
Yeah. So I'll just, if you don't know what my email address is, I'll just put this up here.
Shé, I can't see what you typed before. I don't know if everyone else can.
All right.
Yeah, I can't
So
see what you're typing.
yeah, so just go down to chat. All right. If you've got your chat box open, you'll see the link came up there.
Mm.
And
I've got the chat box open, but I can't see anything that you're writing.
all right, it was just a link to YouTube.
Can anyone else see it?
I can't see anything, but I
No,
can't
I've looked.
see the
I've
chat
looked at
box.
the chat box. I've looked, and Shay's not coming through on the chat box for some reason.
Okay, because Sarah Neal's put to everyone, I can't see a message. So yeah. So I don't know what's happening there. Don't know what's going on. Oh, hang on. I can see what's happened. It's just gone through to Rainbow instead of to everyone. Hang on, let me see. Everyone in meeting. Okay, let me do this again.
Yeah, select everyone.
All right, there we go. That's better.
Oh, I can see it now. Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
there we go.
And so there's the email. So if anybody wants to put a donation for tonight into the Shambhala PayPal, you just use my email address to do that, and you'll be able to do that. Yeah. So other thing I was going to give you, just let me see if I can do this really quickly. Would you like a little, I'll give you the file, export to PDF. I'll give you guys the PDF of, let's put on the desktop so I can grab it for you, of the narration that's going to be on the Hypatia video. So we've had that discussion tonight. This goes into a lot more detail. Let me see. Just go file from my computer. There we go. And there's if you guys want to, I think you have to download it before we finish the chat. Right, so if you want that file, just download it. Can you see that one? Or did that just go through to Sarah? Yeah, I wonder why it's doing that. There we go.
Can't see it.
Yeah, no, it keeps defaulting through just to one person for some reason. There we go. There we go. All right.
So those links you've sent to everyone, you'll need to copy and paste those into a note or something. Because once the Zoom's closed, I don't think you have access to that chat box anymore. But I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. You're very right, Russell. So very, very good point. Yeah. So if you want to download that link, just download it. That's the notes about Hypatia. The video about Pythagoras is up.
To the messenger, might help.
Say again?
Could it go into the messenger group?
It could do, I guess.
Yeah, we're chatting, yeah.
It could do, yeah. I just sort
and
of,
then we won't it.
I know you got your hands full. I can see you got your hands full, darling. Yeah, I'll pop it up there. It's just that there's a lot of people on that group that didn't bother to join us tonight.
Oh,
they won't understand what we're talking about. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, so.
Emma, copy and paste it for me, sweetheart.
Yeah. If anybody gets stuck and they want me to send it through to them later, just send me a private message if you missed out, and I'll send it through to you later.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. All right, Robin, you've been very quiet tonight. Is there anything you want to ask? I'm just going to go through everybody really quick. Anything you want to? Yeah, there you go. Yep,
Right.
I can
No,
hear.
I was looking for spelling and I'm finding it. So I'm happy because I'm going to do some research.
Cool. Okay, cool. All right, darling.
Yeah,
Excellent.
no questions.
All right. Says Robin. Lisa, you're fine. You've been talking a bit. So is anything?
Yep.
All right. So Wendy, Rainbow Raven. Anything you wanted to say, darling?
Take that off me. No, but thank you. It's enjoyable to listen to. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to absorb.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing. I tend to do things like that. I like to listen while I'm doing something. I absorb more when I'm doing things like that. Sarah, were you
Yeah.
going to say something?
Just that this is being recorded, so could you just whiz a copy to each of us?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, does it record it automatically? Does it?
It said it was being recorded, so
Okay. Yeah, I can see.
and
that
there's
it says
a red
recorded.
light at the top of my screen flashing saying it is recording.
Okay.
So every piece of information you've given to us will be in that recording. So once you close the meeting, allow it to just totally record, put it into a file, and then you can whiz it off and keep a copy.
Okay, well, thanks, because Sarah, you're much more experienced at Zoom than I am. So thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate that. Yeah, okay.
So Sarah, would that file need to be compressed? Because I regularly attend webinars most weeks on Zoom, and the webinar host has to compress that file to be able
No.
to send it.
No,
It's okay? Okay, cool.
If you just allow it to copy with Zoom saving it, you can just put that into Messenger. It will handle the workload. It will just put that into Messenger for you. Don't try and attach it to an email. Just whiz it to Messenger.
Okay.
Sweet. Thank you.
Okay. So Cheryl, you're sitting there on another planet. Anything you want to say to us tonight, Cheryl, or any questions or anything? Anything you want to ask?
No, I can't think of anything. Yeah, I've just been happy to listen. And yeah, my background was a bit distracting before with my flatmate moving around behind me. So I put myself on another planet.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
No, it's a nice background. I like it. Yeah. Caesar, is there anything you want to ask? It's been ages since we've seen you. It's so good to see you.
Glad to be here. Well, I just wanted to mention that whenever you guys, or whenever I hear the words Hypatia and the Library of Alexandria and the fire, I get a very visceral feeling, like so visceral that I might have been there. I have this feeling of despair and anger, and my eyes tear up the minute you mention Hypatia. So that's definitely something that I've always thought is, along with the, well, we choose to forget Atlantis, and now we have lost so much in that library that it's always meant to me like as one of those really big downfalls for humanity that we're now trying to play catch up on. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, I had fun listening in throughout the evening as well.
And we'll be looking for you in Portable Door when it comes out.
Yeah, my 10 seconds of fame, hopefully.
Yeah. He plays.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
It tags on to what Cesar was saying.
Yeah.
That so that sadness about losing that wealth of information at Alexandria, but just a comment about I have a relative by marriage who is a forensic archaeologist amongst about 5 different disciplines and what are those things you get, degrees at university, done masters and all sorts of things, very intellectual. And he studied in the basement or wherever it is that the Vatican stores all their information that they don't want anyone to know about. Mm-hmm. And he would not reveal to me what he'd studied, because I think he would have been under a NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. But he said it would blow your mind to know what's down there. So there is information, and a lot of it's ancient information that's hidden away from us. But I believe when I tune into that, I don't think it's too far away that some of that information will have access to that. Not maybe today or tomorrow or even the next couple of years, but maybe in our lifetime, it might be possible that with a bit of a disturbance to the Roman Catholic Church or Empire, the world may get access to a lot of information that was taken from Alexandria and other places. So there is a glimmer of hope in my energy field for that may happen. So I just wanted to share that because there is hidden stuff and we just got to get it one day.
Yeah, we will, but it's amazing. It's coming from other sources. Like it's one of the books that's not in the canon of the Bible is a thing called the Apocryphon of John.
Mm.
And it's been found in more places than most of the books of the Bible have, you know. So yeah, they may have it in the Vatican Library, but it's also like other places they can find it as well, you know.
But you could well imagine that the early Christian or Roman Catholic Church taking the information about all the other different religions, deities, goddesses, and kind of like, right, we're going to confiscate that, and then going away to study it to figure out how to keep those people down or controlled, or figuring out how to convert them or whatever. So I think there's a wealth of information apart from wealth itself, somewhere buried in the bowels. But anyway, I don't want to stir up anything there, but I was just offering that I feel there's a glimpse there that not all is lost. There's still some revelation to come in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you, Russell. Yeah, so who haven't we spoken to? So let me just have a look because everybody's gone out. We spoke to Sarah, spoke to Cheryl, spoke to Russell, spoke to Robin. Des, is there anything that you want to share? You've been quiet tonight.
I talked. Next time we can talk about how human beings become goddesses and gods. That'd be an interesting subject.
Sure, that's a good idea. I mean, yeah, and I believe that all of this does work you towards that. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Kate, you're sitting there quiet in the background. Anything you want to say, Kate, before we go? You have to take yourself off. I'll take you off mute. Yeah, I think you got to take yourself off mute there, Kate. I tried to.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Kate. Oh, you're at the tea rooms.
No, I'm at my house.
Oh, are you? Okay, I was just looking at the plaster on the ceiling. It just looks lovely.
Yeah, I've got that in my house as well.
Oh, there you go. Really lovely.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it, but so much of that I just don't know anything about it. And my husband loves the history, so I'm really glad you've recorded it, because I'm going to play it back later when he comes home, so we can listen to it together, and then he explains more to me. Because I just have no idea, but found it really, really fascinating.
Cool. No, I have the opposite with Kenny. I explain things to him. Yeah, he explains football to me.
Oh, Russ's cars.
Yeah. All right, my darling. Okay, so we spoke. Leah, how are you, darling? You were there. I could see you to start off with. Did you want to say anything, my beautiful?
Hello.
Hello.
I did type a question, and it was in relation to Hermetics being linked to the planets, and sort of like a system to go from being a basic person to a better one. Is there a planet that you start with to start off, or does it not? Is it linear, or does it not work like that?
Yeah, well, it sort of does, yeah, because most people start with the moon because it's closest to us, right? So we usually go moon, Mercury. So the moon is considered a planet, the sun is considered a planet. Planet A means wanderer, so they move through the sky. Yeah, so it's usually moon, and then you go Mercury, Venus, Mars, right? And then some people put the sun in there, right? But I usually like to leave the sun till the end, because you've got all the other energies by the time you get to the sun. But yeah, so you start moon, and then Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Sun. Yeah. sorry, we don't do Uranus, Neptune, or any of the smaller planets. Yeah. We do what are the 7 classical Hermetic planets that have the largest influence on us. And it's really interesting that the 2 that are the furthest away are very big. So yeah, they still exert that influence on us. Mm-hmm.
What was after Saturn?
That's it. So sun, the sun. Yeah. So moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, sun.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I've asked that before and you have answered it, but that's okay. I remember I've written it down now.
Yeah, and sorry I didn't get it before because I didn't see these messages before when I jumped in. There you go. Yeah, so there's yeah, but when we do the Hermetic initiations, we'll go through it and we do the 3 phases of the moon and we do 2 phases of the sun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you get like 2 aspects because there's 2 different types of energy with the sun. Like there's the solar and the winter, solar, like the solstice. So you do the summer solstice and winter solstice. With the moon, you've got to feel the dark moon, the full moon, and then the moon's in transition, right? So the quarters or the wanings. Yeah. So okay, so who haven't? Julie, are you there? Did you want to say anything?
No, all good. Happy to listen.
Happy to listen. All right. So it must be a power outage at your place tonight because it all looks black over there.
Once you go black, you never go back.
I keep telling you this. Dylan, hi. Well, it's good to have your company here, Dylan. All right, my loves. Well, we might wind this up for this evening. Yeah. Are you still at work, Julie?
No, not today. Well, not from this morning. I'm off tomorrow as well.
Woohoo. Oh, you know what? Tomorrow's Suicide Squad, we were supposed to be out at the cinemas. I have to wait till after. Not to worry.
Yeah, I lost 2 shifts, but I'm working tomorrow and Friday. Yay.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. Good. I'm glad you got some work there done.
Yeah, some of our clients were cancelled, but not all of them. Mm.
Yeah, well, because of the lockdowns.
Yeah. Some have cancelled their service. Yeah, temporarily.
Mm. So you've got the San Francisco Bridge behind you there now.
Yeah.
All right, my loves. Well, thank you so much for joining together this evening. It's been great. So remember, yes, I've given you a lot of information. Go and see if you can find a little bit more. You'll be surprised what you can dig up on the internet about it. Do be careful of internet information. There is a lot of junk out there. So don't just watch one thing and go, oh, that must be right. Dig a bit deeper, get a few documents, some good source documents. Great one about Hypatia, if you want to have a look at it, is, can I put my hand on it quickly? There's one called Hypatia's Heritage by Margaret, Aleck, if you want to read about it. Great document, great. It's about women in science in general, but it speaks about the female alchemists from that period and how a lot of this knowledge actually was preserved by the women for those first 3 centuries.
What was it called again, Shé? Hypatia's
Heritage.
Heritage. Thank you.
Aleck. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Shé. Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Thank you, Shé. Thank you, everyone.
I'll send that video. I hope I do it the right way. Oh, okay.
Merry part.
Yeah, merry meet, merry part, everybody. Every blessing to you all.
Thank you,
See you.
Shé.
All right, bye.
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 Bye. If you have enjoyed this video and you like the idea of making magic readily available to people in their lives for free, then perhaps you may consider supporting my work by a one-time donation or becoming a member of our Patreon community. Your support will make it possible for me to do more of this work and get that knowledge out to the public. Our Patreon members have a unique community where they can share their knowledge and wisdom, but also we will have exclusive content over there for you as well. For instance, the information that you have here in this video about Hypatia, there is a free downloadable podcast on our Patreon channel right now where you can get 3 times as much information, as well as downloading a written form in a PDF format. But if you're even considering supporting us, you have my deepest and sincerest thanks. Every blessing to you.